For those who are unaware, you probably heard of WeWork, you probably heard of Adam Neumann, okay? So WeWork was this revolutionary idea that they were going to make workplace spaces, right? Basically just lobbies, like work, or like what do you want to call it? I don't want to call it lobbies. I want to call it like break rooms, right? Like, but they were going to make them like a new thing, right? Like where it was like a place that was calm and soothing, relaxing, sharing ideas, being able to just make the place a better place, right? So co-working spaces and like, I don't know how to explain it. I guess co-working space is a better word. So they're basically reinventing the workspace as a co-working space, right? And they were gonna make it to where it was more like flexible, and it's for like startups and freelancers and small businesses, and they were gonna work together, right? And it was gonna be this new age idea. Well, that's kind of wild, but it's new, right? And there was some actually nice things there. Like it was actually kind of cool. Like it was a new idea. And it wasn't like some scam. It had something founded there, right? Like this is something that if implemented the right way could really lead to a new way of working together, okay? And it was a novel idea, but it wasn't that novel of an idea. It wasn't something that we're talking a unicorn idea. But that's not what investors did. That's not what people thought. That's not how it worked. They decided that they were going to do funding rounds, that this was going to be disruptive. This was going to change the workspace, and every big business, every office, everything was going to change. This was going to be huge, right? So they raised money, and they raised money. And they did so many funding rounds and so much money that SoftBank was such a big investor in them that WeWork at one point had a $47 billion valuation. So they're gonna make money in lots of different ways. They're gonna lease out these large office spaces, these large office buildings, and then sublease. Okay, they're gonna sublease the short term, the little office spaces, their own new way that these businesses could come in and they can rent these new types of offices for their business, right? So basically you go to a building, you want to be part of this, you sublease it, or you lease from WeWork and their building or their block, and you get this new co-working space. It's supposed to be like this really, really fucking insane thing, and everyone's going to do it, right? Everyone's going to do it. It's the new wave. And so they're like I said, they're doing it differently, right? There's going to be some places are going to have games, and some of them are going to have beer, and some are going to have buffets, and some are going to have coffee machines and slides and all that shit, right? Like it's going to be the new thing. But it got a little bit crazy. And the founder, Adam Neumann, was doing a lot of shady shit behind the scenes. Not only was this valuation crazy, but he was doing some shit behind the scenes, including spending spending money that they didn't have, okay? So in 2019, WeWork is going to go on IPO, right? All right, they're going to come in and they file for a $3.5 billion IPO because obviously that's where the valuation is from the underwriters, and even though it has a $47 billion privatized valuation, the actual public the portion of that is about 3.5 billion on the IPO. Everybody's excited. Everyone is getting ready to get in on this, okay? Everyone is getting in on this. It is going to be a huge thing. And then right before they drop the S1. So 2019 is the IPO. It turns out in 2018, they were sitting on negative $1.9 billion in losses. Wait a second. Oh, by the way, you forgot to get your accountant to take out the fact that Adam Neumann took the money, bought buildings, then leased them to WeWork. Wait a second, Stocky. Wait. You're telling me that the guy who founded this company was buying buildings and then leasing the buildings he bought to the company he owned. And then that company was then going to sublease that to startups. Now, I'm not saying that he's the first one to do this. Okay, this kind of shit happens all the time. But it happens after you IPO, not when people are learning about this. They do this all the time. The problem is that this is an S1 filing ahead of time, which shows that because remember, you can't do your shady shit until after you go public. All right? You gotta do this afterwards. Now, when this turned out, SoftBank fucking bailed. They took what money and equity they had and they fucking got them bought out. They fucking left, right? Now, Neumann gets kicked out, right? Adam Neumann gets ousted as CEO, but he didn't leave penniless. But WeWork is still a company, and WeWork might survive this. But does anybody else remember what happened the year after in 2020? Anybody? Yeah. COVID, right? And guess what nobody was doing? Working in offices. 3 years later, in 2023, WeWork was still around. $19 billion in debt, $3.5 billion of which was due for payment in 2024. So they filed for bankruptcy. Now, they're still around. They still have about 500 locations, but they've gone from owning leases to management agreements with property owners. So it's a different type of company. Now, why do I bring this up? Because clearly a lot was going on behind the scenes. You can't call somebody a scammer or accuse them of a crime or fraud or anything like that. So I'm not going to do that, okay? But I wanted to talk a little bit about Adam Neumann. Now, while he was CEO of WeWork, he was getting a lot of money in those funding rounds, right? Because you own the equity in it. You can then sell that equity or exchange it for capital. You can do a lot of different things. I want to talk a little bit about what Adam Neumann did with his money. Now remember, this all happened before he was ousted as CEO. And part of the things that happen with CEOs, especially private CEOs, is that they basically get bought out, right? Or they can have, it's not publicly traded, right? So there's no shareholders. There's the people that you have within the company that own parts of it, but you're still the vast majority of the owner. And you can be bought out. You can be, whatever. You're going to get your money. For example, SoftBank couldn't get out of it unless there was, they had to get out. They had to get out. Somebody had to buy their equity stake, right? Now, I want to talk a little bit about what Adam Neumann did with his money during that time. They bought $90 million worth of real estate. $90 million. They have a 60-acre estate in Westchester County, New York. It has a private lake. It has horses. They have a 6,630 square foot triplex penthouse overlooking Gramercy Park in Manhattan. The ceiling in their penthouse has been painted to the exact replica of the Milky Way, and it lights up and shit. They turned a yellow submarine into their bathroom. They have 2 oceanfront mansions in the Hamptons and a $20 million Bay Area mansion in Corte Madera in California with a custom guitar-shaped room, a whole thing, because Adam Neumann thinks of himself as a rock star. Using company money, on the other hand, they spent hundreds of millions of dollars, and this is what I wanted to get into. Forget his money. During his time there, they spent, and this is what Adam Neumann and WeWork spent company money on. You might say to yourself, how the fuck did they go, how are they $1.9 billion in debt, Stocky? Well, let me tell you. All right, here you go. What are some of the things that they spent company money on? They spent $40 million on a wave garden. This is, Adam Neumann thought of himself as like a surfer, right? Like he was a surfer rock star type thing. And he even thought about making something called a We Surf branded surf parks. That's right. We Surf branded wave parks around the world. So they spent $40 million for an artificial wave pools at the company and a couple of their buildings. Company money was used to buy a company called, they used $15 million to buy Laird Superfood. Overpriced, healthy coffee and snacks from surfer Laird Hamilton. Bought this from him, stocked all the WeWork offices with it, and renamed it We Nourish. You know that motherfucker was running a huge deficit. He was bad in the red on that thing, and his buddy he's just like, yeah, man, I got the money to bail you out. I liked watching you surf as a kid, man. I got you. I need somebody to come in here and do that and be like, yo, Stocky, man, you cool, man. I need to help take care of that house for you. They didn't even disclose how much they spent on Lord Jones, but they bought an entire medical marijuana company. It was high-end edibles. Okay? They probably would have called it wee weed. I don't know. Not French. Wee weed. I'm not even going to get into this, but they bought other shit. They went out and purchased meetup.com. They actually bought meetup.com. I have no idea why that was something there. They bought the SEO tool Conductor. They went out and bought Flatiron School, which was a coding boot camp. In total, he used company money on this shit and spent $759 million buying all this shit. And when they eventually ousted him and were having to recover it, they only recovered $164 million. That's how much they sold all of it for. That is a $100 million loss. But it wasn't his money, remember? Those investor rounds, man. All those people, all those investors. So when you ask me, Stocky, why are you so worried about regular people being able to use their 401ks to invest in private equity companies? They ain't public. They ain't got to disclose shit. Green is green. That's a negative, bro. Now, this doesn't even begin to do what he did with company money on his personal dime. Like, he used to fly everyone he liked and all of his friends out, private jets, all expense paid parties where they rented out entire villas. They did this like for weekends at a time. Even the staff at work got private jet flyouts, and then they had unlimited tequila because he ended up spending $1 billion. He ended up having his own brand of tequila, which was Casamigos, which he ended up selling for $1 billion, just because booze is easy to do. But here's the other thing. Remember how I said he was spending all his own money when he was using all of the company money and funding rounds? God, I hate when I taste blood. Right? When he was doing that, he cashed out $1 billion worth of this stock pre-IPO. This dude cashed out $1 billion in private stock before all of the disclosures happened. And if you think that's the worst thing, you might say to yourself, well, Stocky, this doesn't make sense. All this time, wouldn't somebody there speak up? Somebody at the company? Right? One of them had to say something. One of them had to warn him, right? Y'all ever remember that famous toast he gave? Adam Neumann made a famous toast, and where he said was, to nepotism. Cheers. Only friends and family. Now, if it didn't piss you off already, the fact that this guy had this company that was clearly bullshit and like that, he ran into the ground, he overspent it, he did all this shit, right? And that he ran to the ground, people's livelihoods at stake, whatever, he got everything. Let me tell you a little something that. Remember what I said about CEOs? Golden parachutes are a very good thing for the people getting them, and companies do it because they want to bring in the best talent. But if it doesn't go well, it can hurt. Now, Adam Neumann directly caused or indirectly caused $20 billion in losses, but he had a golden parachute. And when he exited his golden parachute that he set up for him in case anything ever happens, he exited with $445 million. Now, I want you to think about something. This is an agreement that SoftBank and underwriters and investors and funding, seed investors agree to. You're investing in this company. Before you put your money in, you have to know that there's a golden parachute in place. They knew what they were doing. He exited with he drove this company into the fucking ground and exited with $445 million. And the worst part is that a couple years ago, I think 2 years ago, he came back and tried to buy back WeWork for $500 million. He tried. He really did. Imagine spending $20 billion, burning through it, doing all this crazy shit, giving yourself $500 million, doing all this, building this empire, and then after you leave, the company crashes and burns, goes to the fucking ground, and then you come back and be like, yo, can I hit again? It's like, motherfucker, you ruined my life. They wouldn't let him buy it. There's too many the people who, they're like, no, hell no, you can't have this again. Ladies, I know you got that one phone number somewhere down in the phone, probably nicknamed like Radio Shack or Pizza Hut or Target or something like that. You get down bad enough, you'll hit it up. But you're hoping you don't have to.